All right, another day, another commitment for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs. This time, four-star defensive lineman Valden Son jumps on board, giving Georgia their sixth defensive line commitment in the 2026 class. This is a guy that Georgia has been after for a long time now. They offered in late May of 2024. Big old kid. They went international for this one. This young man is from Sweden, and I tell you what, he is a big old Swede. 6'4", 320 pounds, one of the top interior defensive line prospects in the country. Size, power, and potential. That's what this guy is going to bring to Georgia, and he chose the Dogs today over Auburn, Florida, Nebraska, and a few others. But this is a guy that Trey Scott was really high on throughout the process. I know that Georgia's had a lot of targets. They've got a lot of commitments, obviously, so there's a lot of pieces going on the defensive line as far as the recruiting trail goes. But again, this guy's held a Georgia offer for about 14 months now. They know all about him, and this is a guy who's still learning the game, and I think Trey Scott absolutely loves that about him. He came to the United States through the PPI program. I'm going to talk more about that in a second, but it's an international program that helps guys overseas come to the United States, do camps across the country, earn some offers, and he saw his recruitment take off last summer. He earned a bunch of offers back in January. So this is a guy that Alabama offered, Ohio State, Penn State, obviously Florida, Auburn, Oklahoma. A lot of programs wanted him, and at the end of the day, Trey Scott and the Dogs were able to win him over. I thought Florida was the team to beat last month as he was going through official visits, but throughout the month of July, Georgia has been the team trending. And this is a big hit to Florida's class. There's no doubt about it. I got a call a couple weeks ago talking about how Florida really wanted him, and this was after James Johnson committed to Georgia. And I had a few Florida sources say, well, at least this helps us with Valden Son. And obviously there's a lot that's happened since then. James Johnson flips to Texas, Son commits to Georgia, and they may have another opening on the defensive line. So definitely something to keep an eye on. I think they could have 7 commitments in this class. We'll see if Anthony Lonan Jr., a local kid out of Clark Central, jumps on board sooner than later. But Son is a kid that has really dominated during the camp circuit. He works hard, he competes. I think before his Georgia official visit in June, he was at a camp at South Carolina just dominating. And he's got size, he's quick off the line, he plays with good leverage. And you watch on tape, he actually played in Virginia before coming over, or after coming over from Sweden. But he's a guy who's hard to block. You're not going to push this guy backwards. He holds his own, holds the point of attack in the run game, but can shed blocks and get after the running back. He can make plays in the backfield, but it's the potential. This guy's still learning the game, even though he earned offers over a year ago, right? So he's been crushing it during the camp circuit for a while now, and he still has that untapped potential that a lot of these coaches, including Trey Scott, really saw in him. So you can't teach size. He's naturally strong and seems to be ahead of the curve as far as international prospects go. He knows how to use his hands and use leverage to fight off opposing offensive tackles. And he plays with good energy. He's aggressive, and he plays hard until the whistle. So there's a lot to like about him. I spoke with Brandon Collier, who is the founder of the PPI program, which is the #1 recruiting database placement program for international American football players. He actually had a kid, JJ Han, who was from Germany, played in California. He signed with Georgia in the 2025 class. So this is a guy that has brought players to Georgia before, and the Dogs have said, hey, these guys can play. We can teach them more and more about the game of football, and maybe they turn into really good players. So JJ Han came out of the program last year, and now Valden Son is the next man up. But here's what Brandon Collier had to say about this young man, who he thinks is the #1 interior defensive line prospect in the country. He said, being 6'4", 320 pounds and able to move like he moves is very rare. His natural power is what separates him on the field. His aura is different. That's a big word that the kids are using these days. Aura, right? Just the way he just approaches things and the energy that he gives off. Not sure why I had to try to describe that. I'm sure all of you know what aura is, but quote, he has a smile that lights up a room and is just the nicest person. However, he does that other side, or he has that other side where he gets on the field or in any competition and he's not so nice. He wants to beat you bad. In my opinion, he's the best prospect in the class at defensive tackle because he still hasn't tapped even close to his potential. He said, just wait till he's coached up. I truly believe he is a future top 10 pick in the NFL draft. So that's high praise, obviously, but this is a guy who knows this player as well as anyone, has been working with him, taking him to all these camps. And, again, when you get all the big offers, basically, when you get offered by Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama, that's it. I mean, those are the big dogs. And when we get those offers, you can play anywhere. And this young man had a chance to play for Trey Scott, the best defensive line coach in the country. And he said, yeah, I want to jump on board. I want to be part of this Georgia program. So as far as the culture goes, this is a guy that loves to compete, loves to get better, loves to work. And I think that fits Georgia's culture and what they're the kids that they're trying to bring in. Kirby said earlier this week at SEC Media Days, relationships over transactions. And this kid is one that they have a really good relationship and is coming to Georgia to be better. He came to the United States to make a career at football, and he's well on his way now that he is committed to Georgia because, as you all know, if you're a defensive lineman, you want to play in the NFL, Georgia's just about as good a place anywhere in the country to do that. And if you play for Trey Scott, you're going to get that opportunity. There's no doubt about it. So another inside kind of interior tackle who is 300 plus, 320 pounds. So he can anchor that line. He's going to take up double teams. He's going to hold his own against the run game and close those gaps. But he also has the potential to get through and make plays in the trenches. So once he cleans up his technique and, continues to learn the fundamentals and the basics and learn under Trey Scott to be able to beat double teams and beat the guy in front of him, whether it's a center, whether it's a guard, with different ways, right? Using his hands in different ways to shed blocks, but he's only going to get bigger and stronger in Athens. But if he can just do his job and do what he's asked to do on the interior, this is a guy who I think could make a lot of plays. And it wouldn't surprise me if he, starts to hit his potential to be a really good player and a guy that could be a multi-year starter in Athens. So really good pickup. They also have 5 other guys on board, like I mentioned earlier. PJD, one of the top defensive line prospects in the nation out of Western Side High School, North Carolina. He's on board. Preston Carey is a kid from, I think, New York or New Jersey, one of the two. Big Italian kid. He plays at IMG Academy. He's 300 pounds. He's an interior guy. Corey Howard is a hybrid kind of edge or defensive lineman, 6'6", 260. So he's going to have his hand in the ground. We're going to put him in that defensive line group. Carter Lucky, 6'4", about 265, 270, maybe a little heavier than that now. And Seven Cloud, who is the JUCO defensive lineman, number 1 JUCO prospect in the country. He's around that 300-pound range, maybe a few biscuits short of 300 pounds. So they're bringing in more size and guys who are versatile and can probably play that 0, 1, 3, 5 technique, guys that they can move all around. But this is a young man who will definitely play on the interior and has his best football ahead of him. And I think if you're a Georgia fan, that's exactly what you want to see. So again, size, natural power, big, strong kid who's only going to get stronger, and the potential. Everyone I speak with, including Brandon Collier, who knows him as well as anyone, said this guy isn't even close to becoming the player that he is going to be. And he may not be that player until he leaves Athens. He's still a few years away from his best football. So Trey Scott kind of has a blank canvas here on a guy that, won him over a year ago. So they know all about him and his skill set and what he brings to the table. But he does hold 320 pounds really, really well. And he moves well and he's got good footwork. So he is working hard each and every day to get ahead of where most international players are this summer going into their final high school season. So I think he is a little ahead there because he's been in this program and he's been going to all these camps. He's fine-tuning the things that he needs to work on. And again, when you have that many college coaches, offering you and wanting to jump on board, it shows you how good of a player he is. So at the end of the day, he chose Georgia over Florida, but Auburn, Nebraska, and a few others were also in the mix. But really good player and a guy that, is only going to get better. The second he gets to Athens, he's going to immediately be better day one with those resources, the nutrition program, the strength and conditioning program. Georgia has everything that he needs to become a better football player. But the talent is there, the untapped talent is there, the potential, the room for growth still as a football player, it's all there. So big time commitment for the Dogs. They're second of the week. Their 6th defensive line commitment in the 2026 class. And he's got a pretty solid ranking. I don't have it in front of me. I think he's a top 15 interior defensive lineman, depending on the outlet you look at. But wouldn't surprise me if his ranking continued to rise more and more. But big time commitment for the Dawgs. Valden Son, big ol' Swede, coming to Athens to play at the next level. Thanks for watching. You can read more about this and watch highlights over on dawgpost.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the website.